Yo, what's up? It's Daiken here, bringing you another Melty Blood Type Lumina video, and today we're going to be talking about pressure. So how to structure your pressure in this game, how to understand the options that you have, the freedom of pressure within this game so you could explore the options yourself, and of course the dangers of doing different types of pressures within the game, as well as how to counter some of the strategies you may see your opponent do on the defensive end of your pressure and how to stop them. Let's go and start talking about the basics right off the bat. Start talking about your normals. So of course there is your A normals, your B normals, your C normals, and then your D, which is with your shield. And of course you can do all of these crouching and standing, and you can do these in the air as well, so just keep that in mind. Now in most anime games you can typically go from the weakest attack to the strongest attack. So you can go from your A to your B, or your B into your C. However, in French bread based games they have reverse speed, which basically makes you to where you can go from your heaviest to your weakest. So now all of a sudden we can do C into B like this, or we could do B into A, or we can also do C into A. So all of a sudden you can go in any direction you want. There is no limitation on your options here. Now starting off the bat, what I was saying with like the ABC, typically you would do something like that, and then you would like typically go into like a safe special that could frame trap your opponent, or maybe a command normal and a super if it's safe, or plus, something like that along the lines of what you would do. But in this game, because of the reverse B system, you're going to be utilizing this to try to create different pressure opportunities for yourself, or to make yourself safe, and also trying to reset pressure, while also making this mind game of trying to not allow your opponent to understand when you're going to do certain options, so they are scared to press buttons. We're going to talk about that. So typically when you start off your pressure in any game or in these games, you want to usually start with an A button and keep one of your A buttons open. So you can start with any one, but typically I think your 2A would probably be the best normal to start off with, just mainly because I believe they made everyone's 2A in this game a low. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe everyone's 2A is a low in this game in particular. This usually wasn't a 2A for Tono, but now it is. So I'm guessing everyone's is a low in this game as well. So 2A is probably your best bet to start your pressure. Now if you want to start with 5A for some reason, you can. Now in order to do pressure with your 5A, you have to do 4A. So you have to hold back and press A. Now any of the A attacks can only be done 3 times. After the 3rd time, you will get the second hit of your auto combo. So you'll get the auto combo part. Same thing with the standing. So 4A, 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 then you'll get the auto combo on the 3rd hit. So just keep that in mind. Whichever button you decide to do, you will get auto combo after 3 hits of your A button. Now basic standard pressure in the game is typically just going into your ABC. So A, B, C into crouching, and then from there, after a C normal, going into the second A normal that we are talking about is a pretty decent strategy to do, and this is because of the recovery that C normals have. So C normals have a decent amount of recovery in this game. In fact, I believe Arquay would even be able to punish me with some of her normals. So in order to mitigate that punish, you just cancel back into a faster recovering normal. So she still has all the block stun of a C normal, but then you only have the recovery of an A normal. So this still makes you technically negative in a sense, but it makes you to where you're safe. However, the distance that you're able to play with in this allows it to where you can actually trick your opponent. Now there's another special technique that I talked about before. I made a video on pressure before on the classic Melty Blood not too long ago, but because there's unique things in this game in particular that we're going to be talking about, making a new one, so that's why we're doing this. But you can in this game cancel your A normals into other normals, as you see. Like I'm literally pressing A and then going into my next normal. You can also do this with special cancel, so I can press A, go into special, A, DP. As you can see, you do this A into super like this. So you can do A into a lot of different things, even A into shield and stuff. So your opponent, knowing that this is a thing, is very scared to deal with something like this, because they know when you reverse beat, you are going to be canceling into another normal potentially, and trying to punish them for trying to react to your reverse beating, because they don't know when you're going to do this. And that's the tricky thing. Now we just talked about one string, which 2A, 2B, 2C into the 5A, but there's so many different possibilities because you have this A open. And we understand that you can go into things as long as there is a considerable amount of gap. You can do this from 2A, 2B, 5A, 2A, 5B, 5A. You can even do this from 2A, 2A into 5A if you delay. So when you put a delay inside your strings, which is making sure you don't press your buttons right away because you do just a true block string. If you want to catch your opponent mashing, then doing delays is very important. So delaying like this, putting delays behind your strings is very important. That will catch a person mashing. So for example, with Arcwade, if I do something like this, as you can see, there's delays and I get hit for mashing with Tono. However, if you do it very quickly, you allow your opponent to like mash in your pressure freely without you gaining the opportunity of punishing them for mashing during your pressure. So if a person was mashing but you made a true block string, then they got away with a free mash that you probably gonna punish if you put delays. Now, what is the actual downside of putting delays in your string? The opponent will be able to hold down shield during this instance. So if there's a delay in this game, you will be able to shield what the opponent is doing by simply just holding the button during your block stun. So just showcasing that example, I'm going to press it. I'm pressing it now. And it shielded the moment there was a gap. So the moment there's a gap, I pressed it, it shielded the gap. So you have to be wary of if your opponent is going to be trying to do something like this, which we'll talk about how to defend against in just a second. Now, going back to the pressure, now that we understand you can delay, the thing that delay actually does is it makes your opponent go a little bit further back. So if we see Arcwade right here, if I press AA really fast, see that she didn't go that far. But if I press A, look how much further she is. Matter of fact, if we press A really fast, you see that I can get 3 A's in one block string. But if I delay it, because of the pushback, I can no longer get that third A. So this is something you can play around because you can now create enough distance to where you can get that A to whiff. And remember, we're wanting this to whiff because we are trying to get a reaction from our opponent. We're trying to either get a reaction or we're trying to reset our buttons. Now, one thing about the reverse beats that I didn't mention is that they actually give you your buttons back. So if you don't know about pressure, when you press a button, you can't press that button again. So if I press 2A, 2B, 2C, I can't go back into 2A. If I try to, it would give me auto combo. You can't do that. That's a restriction of the game and restriction inside of most games that have a system like this as far as Gatlings go. So with this in mind, I can do something like 2A, 2A into 5A, and then from there I can go into 2C and I could go into 2A again, something like this. Something like that. So now you can see, because you were whiffing this button, even though you are canceling into another button, this is going to give you all the options that you use back. So any button that I pressed previously has now been refreshed and you can use them again in the next block string. Just keep in mind, you may be a little further out, so you don't want to press buttons that may whiff in this instance. You don't want to whiff a button into another button. You want to make sure that your button that you're pressing is going to definitely hit. So for example, I wouldn't want to do something like this into that. Obviously you can, but then you are taking a big risk because the opponent could probably punish you for whiffing the button inside their face like that. If they didn't press anything at that time, you can get punished then. So when you're practicing your pressure with your own characters, just think about the game in the way that you're going to be doing your fastest, probably your fastest normals, and see which buttons you can cancel into another poke that can potentially catch the opponent after you do the whiff. Now, like I said, we know that the opponent can do shield off of this. And once again, this is very scary for the opponent because they don't know when you're going to go for this, because you can do this off this and then that, and then they're waiting for you to press C, but you didn't press C, but then they saw this, so they're trying to react to it, but they reacted a little late, and then bam, you counter hit them for that. So that is the situation that you're playing off of. But what do you do versus a person that's doing shield, right? If a person is shielding your block string like we showed earlier, well, instead, you can do something like this. So you can re-dash in with an air dash, and that person that was holding crouching shield, all of a sudden they get hit because they were trying to actually shield you, trying to do delay pressure, and you didn't. You kept it a true block string. They weren't able to get the shield before. They get the shield off the rebeats, and then you punish them. So what do you do if a person do standing shield? They're like, okay, I know what you're about to do. You're about to instant air dash at me, and I'm going to stand shield this. Well, then you have a different option you could do. You can just reverse beat into a low that reaches far enough from the actual button that you canceled from. And once again, this will beat whatever option that your opponent is doing. So this reinstates the mind game of what your opponent is going to do, what do you think your opponent is trying to do, and this is the options that you have to beat those options. Now, there's another thing that opponents can do, which I'll demonstrate right now. So what do you do if your opponent wants to try to punish you for doing your actual reverse beats? Now, some characters have some really strong, really fast, and long reaching, like crouching normals, like crouching sweep normals. Arcwade is one of them for sure. So if I do something like this, look how close I am compared to the block string. You know, it's very hard. It's gonna be very hard for me to get out of the range. It's gonna be very hard for me to try to press a button. As you can see, we're gonna like be in a class situation. If I try to air dash over her, it doesn't really work. I get hit out of the sky. So what can you do? Well, then you just go back to the thing that we talked about. If you think opponent is going to be looking to try to mash you out of your reverse beat because they think they know when you're going to do it, then you just simply do the other options that we talked about before, which is going to be the special cancel. So you go back to the original stuff. So rather than doing a reverse beat, just go back to your special cancels that have frame traps. If it doesn't have a frame trap as a true block string, put a slight delay between it. That way you could create a little bit of a gap there to where you can catch an opponent mashing if they are mashing anything, and then you get to combo them for trying to do something to you. And once again, this adds on to the mind game. So now once again, they are scared to press a button because they don't know when you're actually going to do reverse beats, and you establish that you will do special cancels, and so now they're letting your pressure rock a little bit more, and you can do reverse beats again and then reestablish your pressure like we were just talking about before once again. And then of course they're probably going to do the shield options again, and it's just a back and forth mind game of the options that they have available and the things you can do to stop them. The last thing I want to talk about when it comes to block strings is understanding that you can control the amount of distance that you put between you and your opponent just a little bit by what you do with your delays. What I mean by this is with certain normals, if you go from a heavy normal into the reverse beat of like an A, there's a certain amount of certain pushback that's there that will automatically happen. So for example, showcasing this block string right here. So I did 2A, 2A, 2B, 2C, 5C into a reverse beat. As you can see, Shiki is on this like green line in the background. You can sort of see it goes down a little bit. His leg is in the way, but in my camera too, but he's on his green line, as you can see the distance. Now what you could do instead is where the 5C is, rather than pressing the 5C right away like this, you put a slight delay between it. And that slight delay will make it to where you stay a little closer to your opponent. So this is something that certain characters want to do, especially if they don't have the biggest normals. Then they will want to stay a little bit closer so where they can get the best normals that they possibly can. So just to showcase what this actually looks like, once again, I was way back here where I ended. So watch where I'm going to end up because I put a delay between my 5C and my 5A. So as you can see, I am a lot closer than I was before. You can see the green line a lot better now that I was standing on. I did not go that far this time because I delayed when I did the reverse beat. So I still pressed the 5C, but I delayed when I went into the A button. If you press it right away, you go further. If you delay it slightly, you stay in a little bit more. And this is a technique that's been inside the classic game as well, that you could utilize inside this game too. Another way to discourage your opponents from trying to mash out of your pressure is utilizing any charge moves that your character has on the ground. So for example, Arcwade and Shiki both have charge unblockable attacks, but it doesn't have to be an unblockable. If it's a charge attack that your character has and that's on the ground, you can use that in the anticipation of the clash frames helping you out to punish your opponent for trying to master your pressure. So just to give you an example with Arcwade with a quick block string here. As you can see, I was trying to mash her out of the unblockable, but because the charge attacks within this game have clash frames, you just simply can't get out of it reliably. Now there are some things you could do. I could have like DP'd, I could have supered, or if I was in moon drive, I could have probably tried to do a moon skill out or something like that. So there's other ways out, but just straight up just dealing with the mashing aspect of opponents, this is another way to discourage them trying to mash out of your stuff and make it to where they will respect your reverse beat pressure a little bit more than they would normally. And that pretty much concludes everything I really want to talk about for pressure and structuring your pressure within Melty Blood Type Lumina. So we talked about how to structure your pressure within the game, the free form of when you can actually use the reverse beat option. You can use it from any of your normals as long as you create the space, and how to create this space using delays, how delays can actually be mashing, and the different other choices you can make within your pressure to discourage your opponent for trying to do certain options that they will have at their disposal that you would definitely see your opponents try to do. So keep these things in mind, and I hope you guys found this useful. As always, if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. I always like to try to help you guys improve inside the fighting game, so just let me know and I'll try to help you guys out in the comments. If you like anything I had to say, drop me a like, I really appreciate it. And if you want more from me, follow my socials and follow me on Twitch if you want me to answer your questions live at /DykinXDan. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn notifications so you know the next video goes live. As always, my name is Dykin, and I'll see you next time. Signing out.